You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-RADIO-US, 844-723-4687. I am someone who is exquisitely upset by the fleecing of the American public and our tax money by politicians. Republican, Democrat, Independent, the politicians currently ensconced in Washington, D.C., have overspent their money, our money, by 22, there's a new figure out. I thought it was somewhere close to 25 trillion, but it's actually $22 trillion. The national debt is $22 trillion. President Donald Trump and congressional leaders have announced a critical debt and budget agreement that is an against-the-odds victory for Washington pragmatists seeking to avoid political and economic tumult over the possibility of a government shutdown. This from Andrew Taylor. The deal announced yesterday by Trump on Twitter and in a statement by Democrat House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer restores the government's ability to borrow to pay its bills past next year's elections and build upon recent large budget gains for both the Pentagon and domestic agencies. I'm pleased to announce that a deal has been struck saying there will be no poison pills added to follow-up legislation. This was a real compromise in order to give another big victory to our great military and vets. The agreement is a broad outline for $1.37 trillion in agency spending next year and slightly more in fiscal 2021. It would mean a win for lawmakers eager to return Washington to a more predictable path amid political turmoil and polarization. Defense hawks determined to cement big military increases and Democrats seeking to protect domestic programs. Nobody notched a big win. Both sides view it better than a protracted battle this fall. Pelosi and Schumer said the deal will enhance our national security and invest in middle-class priorities that advance the health, financial security, and well-being of the American people. Top congressional GOP leaders issued more restrained statements, stressing the deal is flawed, but achievable outcome of a government in which Pelosi wields considerable power. While this deal is not perfect, compromise is necessary in divided government, said House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, the Republican from California. However, it comes as budget deficits are rising to $1 trillion levels, requiring the government to borrow a quarter for every dollar the government spends. That's despite the thriving economy and 3 rounds of annual Trump budget proposals promising to crack down on domestic programs that Speaker Pelosi is successfully defending. It ignores warnings from deficit and debt scolds who say the national fiscal future is unsustainable and will eventually drag down the economy. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. The numbers are getting so big that sooner or later they're going to run away. There will be no way to solve this issue if we don't jump on it at some point in the near future. $1.37 trillion worth of spending. Where's that money going? $1.37 trillion. Where is it going? Well, it's going to that defense budget. Not anywhere close to, I know it's hard to say, but the defense budget is a drop in the bucket compared to $1.37 trillion. And oh, by the way, if I've got a choice between a strong defense and I guess more people being funded in domestic spending from the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, I think I want a strong defense. I'm not being touched by any of this domestic spending. The only way that I'm touched by any of this domestic spending is when they come and ask me for money to use for their domestic spending. And that's probably the situation you're in. $1 trillion federal deficits, not to be confused with the national debt. Deficits add up to the national debt. It's $22 trillion right now. The good news is that this economy is a $14 trillion per year economy. It's that huge. What does that mean? Well, that means that if there is any country on the planet that can approach paying off or paying down a $22 trillion national debt, it's the United States of America. Why is that? Well, the reason is because we work incredibly hard. We always have. We always will. We're Americans. When we're challenged, we produce. The other thing about this is we have essentially a self-correcting mechanism. Believe me, it's not going to be great when this thing corrects if we don't get a hold of it right this very moment. The United States is the driver of not just our economy, but the world economy as well. They say that when the American economy sneezes, the world economy develops pneumonia. It's true. We, the people of the United States of America, make the world boat float economically. And it is something that once again, we, the people of the United States, are very, very happy to do up to a point. You know, President Trump goes around the world and says, hey, you guys that are in NATO, you need to start paying your fair share. And leftist politicians all over the place that hate defense in the first place start yelling and screaming at the top of their lungs saying, my gosh, look at how he's running roughshod over our dearest allies. If our dearest allies are ripping us off in billions of dollars every single year, how dear are they? Just asking. There's also something else. The United States economy is the only economy on the planet that can work itself out of huge debt. The problem with that, of course, is that when we're in a position where our government does not hinder economic growth, which is what happened between 2008 and 2016, when we are in a position where those kinds of things happen, when the government puts a serious burden on the American economy, we are unable to work our way out of a $22 trillion debt. If, however, on the other hand, we have a government that works with American business, works with American industry, and stops trying to turn it into the enemy, which is essentially the case when it comes to socialist Democrat candidates, most of them, by the way, only a couple of them are not socialists. When you start doing that kind of stuff, you guarantee the eventual economic demise of this nation, which may be a part of the agenda in the first place. I am not happy that the Republican Party has turned itself into a facilitator, an enabler of tax and spend politicians. I don't know what President Trump is trying to get done. But I need to see a dramatic reduction in the American national debt. And that's going to start with budget deficits going way down and dare I say, into positive territory at some point. There is a way to do it. There is a way to do it. The way to do it is to bring spending under control 10% at a time. It would take 10 years to be able to reduce our budget deficits and our national debt down to something manageable. I assure you that $22 trillion is not in any way, shape, or form sensible. And we have to do something about it. I don't have any idea. I don't know have any idea how this all happened. You'll notice it was quiet on both sides. Democrats didn't talk about it. They just said we didn't want another government shutdown. Republicans sort of kept their head down and just started working because no matter what Republican Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy of the House of Representatives says, Republicans will be spending some of that money too. It's not just all Democrat spending. And so there is no real impetus. There's no real impetus to force spending being cut by either side. Again, another failure of politics. With the budget deal at hand, Hill leaders are trying to figure out how to get the votes for it. They'll find them, I'm sure. The four bipartisan congressional leaders and President Donald Trump jointly signed off on a $1.37 trillion budget agreement. That in and of itself represents the dynamics for smooth sailing in the looming House and Senate votes, but nothing has been whipped yet. There are clearly going to be objections. There will be. Leaders have to keep an eye on this and work to ensure they don't spread into a problem. What do you mean that they don't spread into a problem? We are already there. Look at the unbelievable spending. Look at the unbelievable deficit. Look at the unbelievable debt. There will be opposition to the deal coming from both parties, reasons laid out in more detail. But the biggest takeaway from the agreement, it removes two significant crises from the plate of lawmakers and the White House. The looming $126 billion in automatic spending cuts, and far more importantly, the potential for a U.S. default in early September. It does not eliminate the possibility of a government shutdown. Lawmakers still have to pass, reconcile, and get signed into law spending bills by the end of September to avoid that calamity, but it does set the numbers that allow the process to kick into gear. There are plenty of reasons for both sides to attack the agreement, but those above pieces are more than anything what prevailed in the urgent spirit of talks that transpired over the past 2 weeks. What does this mean? Remember the sequester? It's dead. Not postponed, not delayed, gone. It was an ode to fiscal restraint, something conservatives still point to as a key fiscal victory from the Obama years, but one that has been reversed or delayed 4 times since 2013. Now it's gone for good amid deficits approaching $1 trillion and a debt level that has surpassed $22 trillion. I mean, do you get the same sick feeling in your stomach that I get in mine when I start reading these numbers? You know how you hate to pay your bills because you know you don't have enough money to get them done? You ever been in that situation? That's the feeling I'm getting right this moment. That is the feeling I have right now as I watch this government, both sides of this government, spending money like water for chocolate. It's awful. The elements of the deal have been made clear since the talks started. A significant boost in defense spending in exchange for a significant boost in domestic spending, with a long-term debt ceiling suspension thrown in to ease market concerns. It's a recipe for plenty of votes for the passage, yet plenty of gripes in opposition, but in the end, it's an agreement the lawmakers and aides on both sides say will pass. Oh, yeah, it'll pass. And the next one, and possibly the next one after that. But we're doing ourselves huge damage. And there's also something else. This budget package, agreed to, $1.37 trillion, comes in the middle of silence. What kind of silence, you may ask? Yes, the silence I was talking about with nobody really saying anything about the budget deal making. Nobody said a whole lot. The mainstream media stayed away from it. Democrats and Republicans really didn't talk about it because they both have a vested interest in seeing this spending happen. But the simple case of the matter is that when we find ourselves with these politicians spending all this money and doing all of these things, the piper will be paid sooner or later. And we have to make sure that this indeed gets done as soon as it possibly can. I look at this and I say, okay, so what are we going to do to stop all these spending bills and all of this happening and still be able to protect our country and still be able to provide a reasonable safety net for people that may not necessarily have one? What are we going to do about that? How does all this work? And oh, by the way, there's one other little thing that I want to talk about. The silence, not just on the budget deal, but you notice Gerald Nadler, aside from the Mueller testimony, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, the Mueller testimony is about the only anti-Trump things that have been going on. Did the president make a mistake by not saying, hey, you really have to do something about these ridiculous investigations before I play ball on this budget deal? Did he miss an opportunity to reduce some of the partisan bickering over his presidency?
It is a horrible scenario, but it happens. Dennis writes about his wife. She was diagnosed with leukemia. In fact, she's a 2-time survivor. And in the midst of all that, they ran up over $1 million in medical bills. Thankfully, they're Medi-Share members. And Dennis says they are so thankful for that, how others came together to meet their needs. And that's how so many Medi-Share members feel. This is not health insurance. It's different. You don't have to pay for things you don't believe in. And like Dennis found out, it just works. So if you join Medi-Share, not only do you save a lot of money, the typical family saves about $500 a month, but you know where your money's going each month. You're helping people, and if the time should come, they'll be helping and even praying for you. So yes, it's different, and as more than 400,000 people now know when it comes to healthcare costs, different is beautiful. Find out more. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Do you have an idea for an invention or new product? Do you think companies would be interested in your idea? Do you want to try to get a patent? Then call InventHelp now. InventHelp keeps your idea confidential and explains every step of the invention process. We create professional materials representing your idea and submit it to companies who are looking for new ideas. We have more than 9,000 companies who have agreed to review ideas in confidence. If a company shows interest in manufacturing your invention, we can negotiate on your behalf. We have helped over 10,000 clients receive patents. We also offer services including 3D modeling and animation demonstrating your idea, prototyping services, and we use state-of-the-art technology to show InventHelp client ideas to additional companies. Join the thousands of people just like you who chose InventHelp to pursue their idea. We are experienced. We are working for you. We are InventHelp.
Call us for free information at 1-800-460-1663. That's 1-800-460-1663. Again, 1-800-460-1663.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-561-5716. That's 800-561-5716. Again, 800-561-5716.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Telephone number is 844-RADIO-US, 844-723-4687. So what we have here, the Wall Street Journal, White House and Congress reached deal on spending and debt ceiling. They've essentially decided to do all they can of the former, and they have essentially obliterated the latter. Chris Cillizza, the CNN editor-at-large, celebrates what he considers to be the demise of a political party that was the greatest or is the greatest grassroots political movement in the history of the United States, and that is the Tea Party. The first date was when CNBC analyst Rick Santelli went on a rant from the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange about government spending and the dangerous resultant debt it was creating for our country. The second date was yesterday. The Trump White House and the key Democrat and Republican leaders in Congress agreed to a 2-year budget deal that unravels the spending strictures put in place by Tea Party Republicans in 2011 and suspended the debt ceiling through July 2021, in practical terms, well into 2022. Is this a huge defeat for the Tea Party? The answer is no. It is essentially another call to action for those very same people. We've gotten ourselves into a big problem. This is sort of like having a runaway credit card. You have to borrow more money to be able to get control of the credit card. You cannot borrow your way to prosperity, but you can borrow your way to keep yourself out of the poorhouse or out of bankruptcy if you have the collateral and the capability of being able to prove that you have the collateral. The government of the United States has both. But the numbers are getting too big. They're getting far too large. And now we find ourselves in a position where, indeed, the United States of America is deeply, deeply in debt. Will this harm the good faith and credit of the United States of America? Well, eventually, yes. Eventually it will. I remember when President Obama got elected, I was relieved in the ideas of some of the people, Alexander Hamilton being chief among them, that said that a bit of national debt is a good thing. What it does is it calls prudence into the equation when government spending is discussed by Congress. And I said, well, so President Obama is indeed the President of the United States. He is a liberal tax and spend politician. He has a Democrat House, a Democrat Senate, and he is a Democrat. But fortunately, the budget deficits and the national debt were both so high going into his presidency, I didn't really worry that he was going to spend more. I was wrong. $5.5 trillion later, this after only 2 years of President Obama's presidency, 2 years, they spent $5.5 trillion. Did you get any of that money? Neither did I. Who got the money? Well, by and large, lots of people, Social Security, Medicare, 2 gigantic Democrat entitlements that indeed threaten to destroy the United States of America, render it into nothing more than a larger version of Greece, a welfare state without accountability. And that's where we find ourselves. Too many people on the public dole. Now, there are darker forces at work. The classic way to destroy a republic is by robbing the national treasury. Is that what's going on? Yeah. Is it going on to demolish the United States of America? Possibly. Progressives are unbelievably relentless when it comes to the destruction of this nation. It is their holy grail, and I'm sure they are hoping that that's what's going to happen in the near future. Fortunately, they are a small group of cancerous individuals in the body of the United States of America. Hopefully, they will not take hold and ruin this nation. You're listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. This is the USA Radio Network. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and three-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-985-1813 now and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you a copy of The #1 Mistakes Retirees Are Making with Their Investments Today and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-985-1813 now. Again, that's 800-985-1813. Employees of J.D. Melberg Financial have the appropriate licenses for the products they offer.